Who hates paying taxes? Right here. Who's ever gotten any type of a bonus, maybe at work, and they've told you, hey, you're going to get X amount of money, and then when your paycheck comes, it's like dramatically less because of all the taxes they took out of it. Well, when it comes to investing in real estate, whether or not that's land or houses or flipping houses or buying your own house that you're going to live in, there's some good tax information to kind of just have in your back pocket when it comes to investing in real estate. And it really comes down to what they call capital gains. And that's paying a tax on the gain when you sell a piece of real estate. And depending on how long you own it, it can drastically change the amount of tax you have to pay on that gain, and also whether or not it's your own residence or just something that you own and you're going to flip it or own it for a bit and sell it. It can change quite a bit. And so it's good to understand and to know what capital gains taxes are. I'm a building inspector by trade, and I've actually heard a couple stories recently about people who didn't understand capital gains, and they ended up having to pay a ton of taxes. Or if they just would have waited a few more months, they wouldn't have to pay it at all. And so the biggest thing when it comes to capital gains in your private residence is if you live in it for 2 out of 5 years. So you could theoretically live in a house for 2 years, rent it for 3 years, sell it, and you will have lived in it for 2 out of 5 years. You don't have to pay tax on that gain. So you can sell that house and you get to keep the money that you make on it. You don't have to pay Uncle Sam their cut. Now, obviously, if you don't live in it, it's not your primary residence, you're going to have to pay tax on that gain. But it also can change depending on how long you own it. Same with just like land, like a land investment. If it's short term, say a year or less, well, the gain you have to pay, maybe it's 25%. But if you owned it over a year, maybe it's only 15%. So the biggest thing, I'm all about helping homeowners out with their house and not paying capital gains on their residence and building equity in their house. But if you're out there and you're diving into more bigger investments, make sure to check your tax code. Understand, like, hey, if I own this for another couple months, or I rent it for a year before I sell it, you generate some income on the rent, then you sell it and your capital gains are much cheaper. So just understand capital gains. At least where I'm at, I've never crossed any thresholds, but I think if you're single and you make over $250,000 on your primary residence, or married and you make over $500,000, then I do think there are some kick-ins where you might have to pay a little bit on the capital gains side of it, even if it's your primary residence. But I've never met that threshold. I usually wouldn't own something long enough to get there. My wife and I have, lived in a house for a couple years, and then we sell it and move. And we live in another house for a couple years, sell it and move, and we just kind of keep working up the ladder. And we haven't had to pay any capital gains on any of those sales because we've lived in the house for 2 years. We've actually had a couple instances where we've literally sold the house like on our 2-year anniversary plus a couple days. It's just the way it's worked out, the way that we have like navigated our life a little bit, and just how it worked out. And we're over that 2-year mark, and we sell the house. The funds that we get out of it is ours. We don't have to give it to anybody, and we're able to use it to reinvest. So when you're out there and you're thinking about investing, you're thinking about selling your own house, make sure you've lived in it for at least 2 years. And if you're into anything else, just double check your tax codes and your tax requirements, and make sure you know, so you could save yourself a little bit of money down the road. I have other information. You can go to buildingcodetips.com. I talk a lot about building code. I'm an inspector by trade. And so I have a bunch of information on code for do-it-yourselfers out there, and investment information if you're out there doing investing. This is all about helping do-it-yourselfers. And so if you're out there, you've had an instance in capital gains, something that was maybe a win, or something that you could say, hey, don't do this, comment below. It's all about telling other people and helping out all those homeowners out there. So subscribe below if you like the video, and good luck out there, and try not to have to pay Uncle Sam his cut in the taxes if you don't have to. All right?